Hello, guys. Okay, I am just waiting to make sure that this is actually live on Facebook. So I think we are live. There we go. Hi, guys. Okay, so today we are going to have a huge talk. This is going to be epic. We're here with Lonie Murdock, who is a celebrity chef and meal prepping expert. Lonie has been in the game for, oh my God, Lonie, how long would you say it's been?
A bazillion years. I think I started meal prepping before there was a name for it.
Oh my gosh. So it's like, honestly, she is probably by far not only the most incredible chef that I know, but probably the pro. Like there's nobody who meal preps like her. But obviously I suck at intros. So Lonie, I'm going to gush about a couple things that you've done on your resume, like cook for Drake and Will Smith and Jada Smith, Venus and Serena Williams. There's so many amazing, incredible celebrities that you cook for, but I'm going to let you do the honors because I will never do you justice. So why don't you just go ahead and kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Linz. Okay, well, you did a pretty good job. you named off some pretty big names there. So I have been doing meal prep. So personally doing meal prep for probably 20 years, like for myself. It's funny because a friend of mine said to me, I remember you meal prepping, and I was like, what is this chick doing with all of these like Tupperware containers out? And that was like 20 years ago, before the gram, before all of that stuff. But then, so I've always kind of been involved in food and nutrition and health and wellness, and slowly kind of parlayed that into my business, which first was actual meal prep, like an online meal prep sort of thing, and then has transitioned now to like personal meal prep and, like you said, some celebrity meal prep. And that's where we are now.
Which is amazing. And so, so I think one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on is because, especially with busy moms, one of the things that, we encounter when it comes to weight loss and everything, there's, so many obstacles, obviously, but meal prepping always seems to come up. And yeah. I think that, for a lot of us, I think there are a lot of, mistakes that people make when meal prepping that can actually hold them back. So let's dive in, let's just get right to it. So let's dive in. What would you say, with your experience and everything, are some of the bigger mistakes that people make when it comes to meal prepping?
Well, I think just like with exercise, when somebody's about to embark on this new stage of life, people just assume they have to go balls to the walls. Like they have to be like, do everything, and they have to do exactly as they saw it someplace else. And they overcomplicate it. They feel like, really meal prep is it's just looking at your portions and the quality of what it is that you're putting on your plate and making sure that you have the right combinations of food and that sort of thing. But people feel like it's going to be 5 days in a row of like this cardboard chicken breast and a steamed piece of broccoli, but that's kind of where it originated, right? It originated from bodybuilders, and they ate this clean meal, and that's
bro diet.
Yes, exactly. Which is great for them, and it works. I know a lot of people who are fine with that. But I think in the real world, for it to be something that is going to be consistent and you're going to take with you, and then you can actually translate that into how you feed your family, to think that you're going to sit down with your 5-year-old and give them a dry chicken breast and a piece of broccoli, and they're going to be like, thanks, mom. That's not going to happen. So finding ways to kind of take the things that you already love, that you already know how to cook, and just combining them and putting them together in a way that can kind of satisfy what it is that you need for your health and wellness journey, but also satisfy like the needs of your family and that sort of thing. But I really believe like overcomplicating or over stressing about the start of it is probably the thing that I hear most. People just don't know where to begin. Like they think,
Yeah.
oh my God, I got to cook like for 12 hours to get, 85 plastic containers on my counter full of protein and fat and carbs. Not the
Totally.
case.
Well, and I think that like there's something to be said about that too. I think to your point, like they think it's boring. Like, you know what I mean? That meal prepping is going to be super boring, and it doesn't have to be. And then I also think, and this just could be a me thing, but I also, one of the things that used to turn me off about meal prepping was seeing those rows and rows and rows of containers. Because for me, I mean, like we both know my husband extremely well. He's a creature of habit. He could eat he does eat the exact same thing every single day of the week, 365 days a year.
I happen to live with the opposite of you, but go ahead.
But then for me, I am like, I don't want to I cannot eat the same thing. Like I like variety. I like filet, like I love all of that stuff. And so I think, for me, if to see those like layers and layers of Tupperwares, or to the idea of eating the same thing every single day turns me off of it completely. Right. So I think one of the mistakes that people make is that meal prepping means that you either like have to eat the same thing every single day, or like you have to like do a big batch cooking, which means you're going to be eating chili like 6 days a week, right, or whatever that is. And that's just like,
I'm okay with that. I think Marcus and I are very similar. You and Darren.
You guys should be married, and me and Darren should be married.
Yes. Because I live with somebody who's just like you. He's not happy eating the same thing every day. I could literally eat like a bowl of salmon, a sweet potato, and some broccoli like every single solitary day, and I would be okay with it. But I can't do that here, because obviously, first of all, if I leave it to him to cook, we're having like pasta every night. So I take it on myself just so that I don't have to eat pasta every night. But yes, I'm okay with it, but the majority of people quickly get sick of it, which in turn, just completely derails them, right? Because they think I can't do it. They throw their hands up in the air, and then that's it. Like they start and finish all in 1 week because they're like, this is disgusting. I can't eat like this.
Which, to your point too, like, I mean, if anybody's kids are like my kids, Madison's tastes change day to day. Like today we put, we at lunch, we gave her, just cherry tomatoes and some chicken and like some nice seedy crackers and stuff like that with some hummus. She loved it. Yesterday I put tomatoes in front of her and she was like, Mom, please. Like
it really, I love the way that you are with Maddie in terms of like how you approach food with her, because I mean, to be very frank, we are all here and we have all come to this place at some sort of time. We've had disordered eating. Pretty much everybody has, and especially if you grew up before, the whole body positivity and maybe even worse after, I don't know. But in my day, it was you eat what was put in front of you and there were no questions asked. You didn't have a choice. And that in turn, I think for a lot of people, created disordered eating, right? They completely don't like certain things. And so with kids, it's just a known fact. Like you said, today they don't like it, tomorrow they might. But if it's like, oh, you have to try and keep trying, and you try, don't like it, okay, and let it go. You just let it go, and eventually they will come around to it. Like, Kiosha, you guys all have little kids probably. My daughter is about to be 30 years old next week.
Kills me because you look, I'm not even gonna go, you look outstanding. Thank you, nutrition.
Thanks. But yeah, she eats everything. And there were a lot of times where I was a single mom. There were probably times where the girl would have loved to have a cherry tomato, but I didn't have money to give her a cherry tomato. But because of that, I couldn't really stress about things that she would or would not eat. And so it was like, this is what we've got. Like, hopefully you like it. If you don't, you're not going to starve. They're never going to starve. Kids will always, they'll always come back to eat something. And I don't think that creating stress for yourself does them any good in terms of 6 months from now, Maddie's probably going to be like eating cherry tomatoes out of a container, so what she doesn't like, what they don't like today, eventually they'll come around to like. And if they don't like everything, that's great. I refuse to eat eggplant. So there you go.
For sure. Well, I mean, I think that's the thing. I wanted to dive into this a little bit later, but since we're here, let's just stay on this for a second, because I think for parents, it is super important to know that, at least in my experience, because I think what is essential when it comes to having, especially if you deal with picky eaters, is to not put your emotions about food and their diet on them. Like, so I think, you know what I mean? Like, just because, like, I also grew up in a house where I had to finish everything on my plate, which denied me of the ability to then recognize and honor my hunger and fullness cues. Yes. And so, like, I remember, like, when Maddie was really younger, like, we would make her a serving of something, and it was really important for us for her to finish it, because then we knew, like, that she ate enough. But a lot of times, like, halfway through the bowl, it was clear she was done. Yes. And so it was only then when I realized, like, I was like, oh, okay, like, she's actually just not hungry. And I think the thing is too, is one of the things that we have learned, at least with her, is that if she does say that she's full at a meal, that's cool. But we also know that sometimes, because she's smart, she knows that, in an hour or so, if she asks for a snack, then she's going to get, like, a bar or something like that. And so, like, what we sort of tried to do was deter her from snacking in between meals, so that way, by the time it's actually lunchtime or dinner time, she's really hungry, and she is more likely to eat what is put in front of her, because we haven't, given into, like, oh, well, here's have a granola bar, or here, have some goldfish, or, like, here.
Right. And also to that point, Linz, is like, what marketing professionals say your kids should be snacking on. Like, I mean, they're paid a hefty amount of money to have all the right colors, the right jingles, the right whatever, so that your kids recognize those things. And then in turn, those are the things that they ask for. And then now you've got your pantry stocked with those things. So we start, when I say we, collectively, in terms of, like, marketing and advertising and what all of those things, start that pattern of disordered eating so young, because we teach them that food is reward,
Totally.
finish this meal, which it should be, a combination of all those great things. Finish this meal and you get something better. You know what I mean? And then we do it because that's how we treat ourselves, because now we've been conditioned to think, okay, I've been really good. I've worked out all day. I've hit my calories. I'm going to treat myself with food. So we start it. So I think as long as we can be really kind of aware of where we are in our personal feelings,
in our own journey,
then we can not necessarily, no kids, we're never going to parent perfectly. So just take that off the board.
Amen.
My daughter's 30. I apologize once a month for something I did to her in her childhood, because I'm like, it's amazing you made it this far. But yeah, so I mean, perfect parenting is never going to happen, but at least you can kind of recognize the things that happen to you, or rules in your family home when you were a child, that kind of you can now relate back to what you're doing as an adult, and then just kind of like try to remove them, so you're not burdening your kids with those things. But then again, with that said, I mean, food is food. I think we put so much importance on it that it just becomes this, like, daily burden. Like, it's crazy. And it really shouldn't be that, right? Like, that's why, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, there's just so much stress around it that I think people are like, oh my God, I don't know where to start. So they either don't start, or they go all in, completely flustered, and then are like, okay, forget it, I'm out.
Totally. And I think that that's the thing too, just to kind of wrap up the conversation about kids, is like, that's one of the things that we work really hard to do with Maddie, is that there are days where she is not going to eat a single vegetable.
Right.
I'm not going to fight that battle, because I know
Yep.
then there are other days where all she wants to eat is vegetables. And I think that that's the thing, is it's not about, you have to take your sort of ego out of the situation and say, today's just not the day, but continue. Like, I think there's something so important to be said for not giving up. And like, it's this, like,
and presenting it in a new, fresh way each time. Your kids may not like cooked broccoli. They may love raw broccoli with, you know, a little kind of ranch style dip, whatever. Kids love to dip.
Yeah.
So you just try different ways, and really, I think it's exactly right. You just keep reintroducing down the line, and I'm sure like everybody knows. Again, minus 30, she still does it. She eats off my plate constantly. All kids eat off their parents' plate. So what you've got going on in your plate will definitely translate into what your kids are eating. So
I was
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go. I can't. I'm so excited.
I was just gonna say, like, I hear a lot with because most of my friends have younger children, right? So I'm one of the only ones with like the grown up adult person in my life. So I hear what they're saying, and they do, because this is my industry. They ask me like, oh, and I'm like, you know, what you have on your plate, your kids can eat. Oh, I just have this in the house because, you know, it's for the kids. I'm like, why are you giving this to your kids? If you can say to me, oh, I only have those Oreos in the cupboard because for the kids. I'm like, no, you need to do better for your children. Because if you are saying that, you're saying, I wouldn't eat that, but I'm going to give it to this little human who, you know, you're supposed to be doing the best for. So they will really mimic you. You are their first role models in terms of like body image and health and food and all of those things. So if your plate looks great and you're happy to be eating it, that's the other thing, right? If you're like, ugh, while you're eating, if your kids see that, if you're like, I mean, I love food. I like to, if my food doesn't make me dance when I'm about to eat it, like, you know, your kids see you eating and happy and whatever, when you're digging into a bowl of vegetables, they're also going to mimic that. So I think we just have to be super conscious.
Exactly. That is exactly what I was just going to say, is that if you are a parent who does not practice what you preach,
yes,
and you have not earned the right to complain about your picky child, because right. They are, and I say this all the time, you are a living, breathing example for them. So if you want them to eat and, you know, like eat the vegetables and have like a balanced diet or whatever, you got to be practicing it, because if you're not, then you're just walking them down the exact same path you're going.
I learned from my mom. My health, wellness, and food comes from my mother. My mother was like ahead of the game, like, you know, decades and decades before all of this was an industry. My mom was part of it. Like she was a pioneer in these things for our family, because she was very much into her health and wellness. She, you know, when I grew up, it was very like meat, potatoes, whatever. Very few people went to a gym. My mom was a personal trainer when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8, you know what I mean? On top of her regular job. So health, wellness, fitness, all of those things. And I have pictures of me being in the gym with my mom. I don't know why I was allowed to go, but I would be in the gym with my mom at that time, and then watching how she would eat. It's just how I learned to cook. So I learned how to cook with all of these ingredients, because that's what I was mimicking, you know.
So we're getting off on so many tangents now, but I was just going to say, I also think that that's hugely important too, because I feel like kids have to have a certain level of autonomy over, like, it's not necessarily like you run the kitchen, but I think like by including them in the process of, so what should we buy that, you know, if we're going grocery shopping, what do you guys want to eat this week? What should we make? If you're making dinner, come in the kitchen and help, like, you know, what do you want to season it with? How do you want to cook it? Like, make them a part of the process, because then there's almost like this, I know with Maddie, especially like right now, where she always helps me make like Cece's dinner, and like, you know, like mixes all of her concoctions and stuff like that. Or like sometimes she'll like pick out the food that she wants to eat. And it's in those moments where there is almost like this, granted she's almost 2.5, but like, you know, there is almost this like sense of pride of like, I made dinner. Like, look at
Right.
me. Like I did all of this. So I
I
think
mean, those little things will go so far, you know, like helping them, like you said, letting them pick out what vegetable, because, you know, maybe they're going to pick out cucumbers every day for 7 days. You know what I mean? Who cares? Let them pick out a cucumber every day for 7 days. The less you stress about it, the less they will feel like, oh my God, yes, the less they will stress, and the less they will feel like there's some kind of emotion attached to this food. There shouldn't really be that emotion to it, right? It should just be like, I like cucumbers, I like broccoli, this one likes carrots, great, let's eat them.
I love it. Okay, so let's dive into, so my next question, which is huge. So for somebody who, you know, moms are like, we have so little time on our hands, especially now that we're all isolated and everybody's home all the time and we're responsible for, you know, before we used to be like just dinner, now it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we don't have a lot of time. So what would you say are your best tips in terms of like fast, efficient meal prepping?
Okay, so I thought about this because this is what I also right now. So just like you guys have like all of your little kids, I have my mom who is staying with me. We've been quarantined together now for 3 months, guys. And now also my husband, who, and everybody eats differently. So my mom has celiac. She is allergic to nuts and to soy and shellfish. Like, it's a whole thing. So if I had to cook individually for everybody, I would lose my mind, right? Like, it would just be too much. So the first thing that I do is I create like a generic seasoning. So this is super, like I cooked a chicken last night. I used this on my chicken. I'm going to cook salmon tonight. I will also use this on my salmon. I can use it as a salad dressing. It's just generic. It's got a bunch of different, not a lot actually, but like a few different spices, some avocado oil, some apple cider vinegar, and some lemon. And
we're going to be giving this away to everybody at the end.
I'm going to give this away to everybody. And the reason why I have a generic one is because that's part of it, right? Like, do I want to like go through 85 different spices? I'm a spice whore, by the way. I have like 85,000 spices in my big cupboard. I have a drawer full of spices. I have a million of them, but I always go to the same kind of ones when I'm just like cooking on the fly. So I just have this. This can stay in your fridge forever because it's got like, you know, vinegar and whatever. Mix it up, put it on everything. So that's my first tip. My first tip is just like, don't overthink the process. So this right here goes with everything. And then I'll show you how we're going to tweak it. I'm going to make like 3 different bowls. And I'll show you how you can tweak that. So that's my first thing. The second thing is my vegetables. I roast most of them like with avocado oil. It's my new thing, so I like the spray. Avocado oil, and I do them like whole. So I don't know if you can see my sweet potatoes there. So my sweet potatoes, I roast them whole. I'm not chopping. I'm not making perfect little cubes. I'm roasting these bad boys whole, and then they're just there, ready to go. So they're always ready for me to throw into whatever I've got going on. Same with all my vegetables. So you can see I do not like raw vegetables, and I roast. Not only do I roast vegetables, roast broccoli. If nobody has ever roasted a piece of broccoli, you don't know what you're missing. Like, it is not so much better.
Not only does it give it an incredible like meaty, like nice, rich texture, the flavors, it absolutely brings out all, like if you roast I've roasted carrots and tasted them afterwards, and I'm like, this tastes like candy. It is so sweet and delicious. Like, roasted vegetables in our house around the clock.
So, and I was just going to point out, as you can see, I don't have any containers of made meals. There's not one like chicken, rice, vegetable thing in my container. It's just like I roast them and I throw them into literally whatever container happens to be free and empty. So I also roasted my cabbage. I roasted my broccoli. What else did I do? Oh, I did some beets. Best thing in the world. Roasted beets. Anyway, so roasting my vegetables, that's what I would say, because all of these can be done like on 2 sheet pans. So anything that's hard, 2 sheet pans. Anything that's hard and a dense vegetable, like your sweet potatoes or your beets or even your carrots or something like that. You want to put all of those on one because they're going to probably take a little bit longer than soft vegetables. You can roast your broccoli, your cauliflower, your asparagus. That's literally like put it on a pan, avocado spray it, dash some salt, and put it in the
Maybe
oven.
even a little garlic powder. I love a good garlic powder.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't even bother with all of that because I'm gonna add other things to it afterwards, right? So if we're thinking like just plain old, like get it in, get it done kind of thing, salt and avocado oil, salt, pepper, avocado oil, done. Because you can always add. You can always, like if we're talking just strictly time saving, very basic, and to me, like once you start adding all of these things together, you get the flavors from all those different roasted vegetables. Yeah. And like I said, you've got this, right? So you can always drizzle this on top and it has garlic in it. Anyway, so that's my, that's my tips, is just roast all of your vegetables.
So not necessarily chopping. You don't need to chop everything. And you can buy even pre-chopped, which we do a lot. I even find too, for us, in terms of stuff like cauliflower and broccoli, all I literally do is chop off the stems, or like with cauliflower, like I'll cut it out. And I use my hands. I very rarely, like I use my hands and I just rip it all apart because it's so much faster. And just
it's called rustic. It's called rustic cooking.
That just sounds a lot more sexier.
Everything like beautiful. And listen, think about it. When you go to a restaurant and you see like your little cauliflowerettes or your broccoli florets or whatever, and they are, precisely cut all of this. Somebody's being paid for that. They're being paid a hefty wage to do all of that stuff. That you don't have to do that shit at home. This is not what it's about. Like, honest, like, okay, if you want to look at it like from that point, I have cooked for, probably the biggest celebrity in the world. I did not make sure all of his broccoli was the same size. And
Will Smith's broccoli was not the same size.
It was not. And you know what? He did not fire me for that. So don't be so hard on yourself when all of your broccoli is not the same size. It's like not a big deal. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. So that would be, roasting would be the first thing. Batch cooking your proteins is also a great way to. So I usually roast a whole chicken. I'm not like a chicken breast only type chick. So, and especially in my house, nobody likes chicken breast. I end up eating it, but nobody else likes it. So, anyway, so I roast a whole chicken. I usually do some salmon, and I do some ground turkey or ground beef. And again, my salmon is going to be glazed with my generic whatever. I might even throw that into the ground meat mixture, but I'll probably add like some onions and fresh garlic for that. But then I can take those things and turn them into a multitude of meals. And I have not created like, a mixture for this and a mixture. It's literally been like 5 ingredients in terms of like the seasoning, but it's gonna be so flavorful and so different because I'm just gonna kind of mix and match.
The other thing that I love too, sorry to interrupt you, for protein now, especially because Marcus is actually making so much fun of me because I am an all season griller, but now that it is warm out, like now that it's starting to get warm out, I am grilling. I was literally out yesterday morning at like 9:00 grilling beef patties on the barbecue. And the reason why I love the barbecue for protein is because you get that added smoky, amazing, like flavor, and it's delicious. And well, depending on obviously how big your grill is, like our grill could handle 12 chicken breasts if we wanted to. So like,
I will also say that my new favorite, I purchased it probably about a year ago, is my air fryer.
You talk about this air fryer.
My air fryer is on. I did my whole roasted chicken in my air fryer in 30 minutes last night. Like, turn it on, like seasoned, turned it on, didn't touch it, didn't open my oven, didn't turn on it. It's amazing. Like in terms of quickness and also for reheating. If you're not a microwave fan, I don't usually use microwave too much, but for reheating and for roasting veg and stuff like that, it's awesome. Especially if you're like a small family and I live in a condo. We're not supposed to barbecue, but I do anyway. But I use my air fryer like every day, the fryer setting and the roast setting. So I do that quite a bit. So, but same as grilling, like it gives it a little bit more than just like,
like you need like a zhuzh. Like it gives it a little bit of a zhuzh. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not just like Marcus used to love, because he used to be a bro diet guy. And so he loved like just putting his like chicken breast, like he was like the boring chicken breast guy. And he would just throw them in the oven, and then they would come out and they'd be overdrawn. And I was like,
I feel like I helped Marcus evolve in his food game, because he was eating Eat Train Live back in the day when you guys first got together. So I feel like maybe I helped a little bit. I don't know.
I think you did. But it's also really nice too, I think, like if you're like, I don't have a lot of time to meal prep, if your partner or your husband or whatever, if he's going out at nighttime to do some grilling for dinner, be like, honey, throw some chicken breasts on the whatever while you're out there and get it done. Like just
But see, this, you know what? I'm so glad that you said it like that, Linz, because I feel like that simplicity is what people assume they have to remove from meal prep. That simple thing of saying, hey, can you just grill this while you're out there so that I've got it? That simplicity, it's really that simple. But because of the nature of who we are, we've already decided like that's too simple. It's too simple. It can't be that easy. So we've already like kind of put this fear into ourselves that like, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing something way more technical. It is so not technical. It's literally
not
like
technical at all.
No.
Not to mention, it also does not have to fall on your shoulders. Like,
no,
I would say that our meal prep, there are specific things that I like that Marcus doesn't like, but like the majority of the food that is done in our house is done as like, if we're prepping, it's done as a tag team. And I also think that that's really important to remind women, like, even if your husband doesn't want to do, you know, the roasted broccoli and all of this stuff, go grill this. Go put this on.
Let them, just like your kids, let them get involved in the process.
Get it off your for sure.
Yeah, so it's not fully laying on you. Although in my house, it is 100%. How do you tell somebody, oh, no, I'm not going to do the meals when that's your actual job? No, it doesn't work.
I'm not going to teach it. No. So then in terms of, so that is amazing. So quick tip. So, and then also the air fryer. I also love the Instapot. Instapot is amazing just for really quick things on the go. Yeah. So in terms of staying on track, because obviously, I mean, let's just be honest, you look amazing. You've always looked amazing. You cook for people so that they can look amazing. What are a few of the key things that you have in your house all the time? Like, is a staple in your fridge? If I were to come over and open the door and do like a Cribs episode, what would I find in your fridge?
Always avocados. Always. So all of my meals that I personally eat, which you can see them on Instagram right now because I've got nothing else to do, so I've just been taking pictures of them.
And how can we find you? How can we find you? Just while you mention that.
Oh, at Eat Train Live Inc. on Instagram. And you can see pretty pictures of my bowls that I've been making since I've been home. So because normally I'm like on the fly. So those pretty bowls that you see would actually probably be in one of these bowls. I don't know if you can see my cooking bowls. I'll usually just throw everything in there and eat it out of there. But since I'm home and I have some time, I've actually been putting it in like a normal person bowl. So like I said, I always have mixed greens, always, because it's just, I always put it as like the base to my food, right? So then I know no matter what else in the day, I've had a salad, and that goes for like breakfast and whatever. If I'm having eggs and like a hot breakfast, there'll always be some greens in there. I always have coconut aminos because I cook with coconut aminos. Yeah, I never use soy. Even when my mom is not here, did I say she's allergic to soy? She's also allergic to soy. So even when she's not here, I cook with coconut aminos as opposed to soy sauce. I just find it tastes better. It's less sodium, that sort of thing. And I've always done that for my clients. Yeah, I cook that same way for my clients. So for the majority for my clients, I cook gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free. nut-free if they're allergic. So I always have coconut aminos. I always have greens, avocados, coconut milk, always coconut milk in my cupboard, always like chickpeas, lentils, that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, if I've got no proteins left in my fridge, I can always toss those into my greens and with my roasted vegetables, and I've got a complete meal there. I like to have, and maybe this might be, people might be like, oh, that's too much. I'm going to tell you how easy it is. So I have pickled onions. Can you see them? They look so pretty.
Yes.
So I have pickled onions and I have pickled cabbage, which is literally vinegar and water. I don't even put any sugar in mine. Some people do, like in a restaurant, they'll used to be sugar. I put a little bit of salt, some white vinegar, and some water. I have those there because they add depth to an easy meal, right? So like if I throw those on there, first of all, they're gorgeous, and you eat with your eyes.
They're so good.
Right? You eat with you see it and you're like, oh my God, it's amazing. And then, yeah, it just adds that little kind of depth of flavor and and they stay in the fridge forever. You can do these like one day when your kids are gone out of the house, you can pickle a bunch of vegetables. You can pickle cauliflower, all of those things, and just have them there to kind of add to whatever it is that you're making. And then I always have carbs cooked. So it helps me in terms of portioning. I find like if they're ready to go, it's easier for me to kind of think about how much of it that I'm eating as opposed to like making a pot and kind of like serving myself out of the pot.
Yeah.
So I like to do different kinds of rice. Right now I've got black rice cooked.
You always make the most delicious. I never cook black rice properly. I always mess it up somehow, and you always do black rice so well.
Well, thank you. I get paid for that. So I always have like different kinds of carbs. Like I've got my sweet potatoes, I've got my black rice. There's always some white rice cooked because again, people I live with, they're not on the black rice train. And then I, again, like a lot of seeds and like hemp seeds, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, that sort of thing. And I'll just toss those on everything. Like, my chicken and my just to give myself some good fats. I'm getting some amino acids. I'm getting whatever it is, you know what I mean? I'm not, it's not a ton, and it takes 2 seconds to kind of just throw them on there. I always have sauces. I make a lot of my own sauces when I'm cooking for my clients, but when I'm at home, I'm using like, pretty basic stuff. I try to look for things that have the fewest number of ingredients. So like low sugar or no sugar, salad dressings, again, like the coconut aminos. I always have, salsa ready to go, although you can make it yourself, super easy. Hummus, that sort of thing. Anyways, I just have those things ready to go because like I will show you how to put together a quick bowl, and having these things on hand take like what you would think meal prep would look like into something that you would be happy to eat, and this, you could use all of the same ingredients that you have at lunch. You could use all of those same ingredients at dinner and have 2 totally different meals.
Oh my God, you're speaking to my heart right now. Okay, so let's dive in. Do you want to show us how to do that then?
Okay, sure. Okay, so quickly I will show you. So we'll do like kind of like an Asian-y inspired bowl first. Okay.
My mouth is watering.
So normally I would warm up the vegetables, but just for time's sake for you guys, I won't warm up my roasted vegetables, but I would literally like just put them all back into my air fryer, and they would like roast for 2 minutes and they'd be warm. But I always start with some greens. So here's my mixed greens. Oh, I always have sprouts too. Always have sprouts. Because they just kind of, sorry, I'm leaving you guys for a sec. They just add a little something to the meal. Let me see. Okay, so for this one, what I would do, this is the other thing I also always have. Chopped kale, ready to go.
You know what I also really like too, although it might be like a lot for a lot of people, I love fresh herbs. We always have cilantro.
Yes. Or have it in
parsley.
and if you keep it in a jar of water, lightly covered with some plastic, it will last forever.
I also keep mine in a cilantro. I find too, if you keep it in a plastic Ziploc bag with some like a paper towel, like wrapped in paper towel, it's also really good.
Yeah,
it's good for forever.
But if you're like a kale person, I love kale. The thought of putting kale in my salad and chopping kale at the moment is a pain in the ass. So I usually, as soon as I get it, I chop it, I put it in my salad spinner, and then I add it to a Ziploc bag with paper towel at the bottom, and it's ready to go. So now I can saute it. I can add it to my salads if I want to add something more.
Smoothies.
Yeah. And then also don't take the air out of it. Leave the air in the bag and it will stay fresh longer. Okay, so I would have my mixed greens, which so we're making this one is an Asian bowl. So I'm using an organic sesame ginger dressing. So if you're counting your macros or doing whatever, you would obviously measure. I'm a less is more person. I'm not a huge fan of a ton of dressing. I know that's.
Oh my God, I love it.
But most people are like, Darren always says, however much dressing you put on yours, triple it for mine. So
Darren's my spirit animal. Me and
he
Darren.
really is. You guys are so similar. It's crazy. Okay, so I've got my mixed greens in there. So that's the base of my bowl. Is just like literally I took greens out, poured some salad dressing. No rocket science here. Then I would just probably add, for this one, since it's going to be an Asian bowl, I'm going to add my black rice. I don't mind my black rice cold. I like that kind of like poke bowl sort of deal, but again, 2 seconds in the microwave or whatever, and you can warm it up. So 1/4 cup there of black rice. I made some of the things I had made already were bok choy, which you can hear it's kind of crispy. I roasted it, because there's no rules. Food has no rules, people. I'm not cutting it because I can cut it with a knife when I'm ready to eat it. I've got some sauteed mushrooms. I'm going to add a couple of mushrooms.
So good.
Like real time, dude. Like this is it. Some broccoli, my roasted broccoli. And I am going to add, my pickled cabbage, because that makes everything great. So I've got my pickled cabbage there. And my roasted chicken from last night, which, like you can see, can you see this? This is done in the air fryer. With my, whatever generic-y, whatever thing that I made there, my seasoning. So I'm going to add my chicken. Sorry, I probably should have had this cut so it was like super profesh, but.
It's okay. So you're still under 5 minutes.
Okay, good. So I'm going to add my chicken. And again, if you're macroing, you could stick it on a scale and then you have that done. Okay. And then this is where you judge. This is where what Lindsay's talking about comes in. So now I just have the basics, right? So how am I going to make this? Like when I go out to eat, I like things to be like complex and have depth and whatever. How am I going to do? So I have sesame seeds. I'm pretty sure everybody in the world has sesame seeds. I'm going to sprinkle those sesame seeds on top just to make it look pretty. I'm also going to add some sunflower seeds. I'm going to add some chili flakes. And this is where we make it Asian-y. Even more so. So now remember we had that generic spice on our chicken. So this is 5 spice. I'm literally taking a pinch of 5 spice, adding it to my meal here, and some sesame oil, which is like game changer, guys, because you
love
literally
sesame oil.
Sorry, I'm stepping out of camera for 1 Like so little of it. This is all you would need. Is like, this is like a 1/4 teaspoon of sesame oil just on my chicken.
There's something, and I will say this, there is something about, so I know that a lot of people cook with oil.
Yes.
What I have learned in my years of just, you know, furthering my experience and how much I enjoy food, there's something about buying exquisite tasting oils. So like having excellent extra virgin olive oil, having really delicious coconut oil, like like having amazing sesame oil. And then literally, like Marcus the other day went out and he bought this like generic extra virgin olive oil and he brought it home and I like drizzled it on my salad and I was like, what is this? Like it tasted disgusting. Because we that's where I actually invest a lot of money, like is in those oils, because it literally takes your meal from like a 2 to a 10 and like under like in no time flat.
Totally. I'm gonna also add some. I also like color, so it's important for me to see like a couple of different colors in my meal because it makes me feel like I've got more bang for my buck. Anyway, okay. So then my last thing would be coconut aminos. I'm literally just going to drizzle like a little bit all over. And then if you wanted to warm up all of these things separately, you could. But okay, so we all just saw me do this, and I don't know. Let me just.
Amazing.
So that's what that looks like.
Wow.
So, and that's cold. You can have it cold. You can warm those elements up if you want to. But really, having these things there ready to go makes all of the difference in the world. So this took me last night. To be honest, I did it all in my air fryer. I didn't even use my oven. It takes me a little bit longer because I like to do things separately in my air fryer because I hate to turn on my oven. But you could have done all of these things probably in an hour in terms of having all of these elements done, ready to go. And this, in that 1 hour, now gives you a multitude of meals. Anyways, okay, that's the Asian version. Let me show you what else we're gonna do. So that's all those same ingredients. I'm gonna take all those same ingredients. So I'm gonna take my mixed greens. Somebody's gonna be happy when they come home. They'll be all these.
I was just gonna say, Darren's gonna come home.
He won't eat them. He probably won't eat them. Okay, so I'm gonna take my mixed greens because I just also, it's like it gives you it makes you feel like you've had more than really, like, you know what I mean? You're feeling full from your meal without feeling.
Well, the thing is with vegetable, like with vegetable or fiber that a lot of people don't realize is that it actually slows down the digestion of food to your gut. So it is a natural, what is the word I'm looking for? Appetite. Is it an appetite suppressant? Because it makes you feel full so much faster.
Right.
So like if you're trying to, you know what I mean, like slow down on how much you're eating, load up on the vegetables. Like it's so simple.
100%. Okay, so I've got my greens. Again, I'm adding some sprouts. I'm going to use, this is one of my favorite dressings because it's got no sugar in it. It's a Greek dressing. So again, a little bit of dressing onto my greens. Mix that up. Again, like I was saying, you can totally like warm all of these elements up, not your greens, but totally warm all these elements up or saute that kale. I also roasted some spaghetti squash. So here's my little spaghetti squash rings. If you just turn them inside out, they become like pasta.
Wow.
If you can see that. So you cut them in spears, and then so that's going into my bowl. Also,
so, okay,
you don't have to eat all your stuff.
I've never seen that. I've never seen that done. So did you literally just take the whole squash and slice it?
So
like how did you do that?
Squash, and I cut them into rings. Again,
and then you can just peel off.
You peel off the skin, and then this is what you're left with. And then when you break it apart, it's literally like little noodles. Okay, so I've got my mushrooms again. Again, same ingredients. I really love grilled mushrooms. I feel like they give me like a feeling of like meatiness. And then I would, for this bowl, so that's going to be my starch. There is going to be my zucchini noodles. I mean, sorry, my spaghetti squash noodles. And then, hold on, if I can open this, spaghetti sauce. Or not. This is the joys of life. I probably should have had this open for you guys. So you didn't have to listen to this. Whatever.
Well, even if you can't, we know that you're adding tomato sauce.
Yes. What? No, we have to see it. It's gonna look pretty. Okay. So, anyways,
Oh my God.
okay. Anyway.
Deep right away.
Okay. So, a couple of sun-dried tomatoes. You can break them up. You're eating this food. That's the other thing, guys. Since it's your food, you can put your hands in it as much as you want. So I've got some sun-dried tomato pieces in there, and again my chicken from last night. So again, my roasted chicken. I'm just gonna add that to the bowl.
So this is very Mediterranean.
Totally, it's like an Italian kind of, you know.
So it's essentially, so the foundation never changes. So it's always like, you know, tons of fiber from really healthy veggies.
Yes.
Good protein, a good source of protein. So that could be chicken, salmon, strips of like lean cut beef, like all of that.
Or ground meat. If your kids like ground meat, because I know a lot of kids, that's their preference. And if you're trying to extra lean ground grass-fed beef, ground turkey, that sort of thing, all of these things can be added in there. Like, I mean, like when I say there's no rules, there's legitimately no rules when it comes to food. And when I say thinking about the things that are stressing you, removing that stress from like, what is it supposed to look like, to this can look like absolutely anything as long as it's got those components, right? So, okay, I opened it. So it obviously I would warm this up, but for the sake of you guys, I'm not gonna warm it up. I'm just gonna drizzle it on my spaghetti squash.
And I will say that about sauces, I am definitely a condiment queen. Like I have so many different varieties of sauces in the fridge, whether they be delicious like salad dressings, whether it be different kinds of hummus, whether it be like, sometimes I'll make my own, like I'll do, because we're dairy free too. Like I'll do like a nice cheesy cashew, like, you know, sort of something like drizzle. I am all about the drizzle. So like, and I think that that's because, to your point, yes, vegetables on their own can sometimes be meh, but once you start to get into like, you know, deepening those flavors by adding different things, it's the same thing. Like the other day, like I literally made, I love cauliflower rice. There's just like, I don't know why, I just love it. And the other day I literally just was sauteing it, chopped up some cilantro with a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I drizzled a little bit of lime juice on top, and it took it to a whole other level because of the freshness. It tasted like very like Asian. It was just delicious. And I said to Marcus, like, I was like, I have literally changed my cauliflower rice game for the rest of my life. Like now that like, I'm sold. And it was just like, I was like, lime juice, who would have, I was just thinking, I'm like, maybe I'm going to add some lime or lemon. And I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah. So I just added some fresh parsley there. Again, so I keep the stems from my broccoli. So I'm adding I just peel them and then I add them. I mean, I roast them the same way. So I'm adding some stems from my thing. I added some fresh oregano. If I had fresh basil, if I was able to get fresh basil in my grocery store, I would definitely add fresh basil to this. And if you're not nut free, you can add a couple of pine nuts to the mix. If you are nut free, again, sunflower seeds, that sort of thing. And then if you're dairy free, a little thing of nutritional yeast on top, and you've got your Italian type dish without, sorry, I'm getting my picture of my sink there.
Amazing.
Your Italian type dish, all with those same ingredients, but it's going to have a completely different flavor profile. So, you know, the base, like you say, the base is basically the same, but now you've added another element in there, like the sauce, spaghetti squash, that sort of thing. It's going to have another type of flavor profile. And you have not cooked anything that you didn't cook for that one meal. Now I can switch out the proteins. If I had salmon, I could do these exact same bowls with salmon. I could do it with the ground meat. I could do it with lentils, with chickpeas, whatever it is. Super simple. If I wanted to make that same bowl Southwest, I could add avocado. I could add salsa, which, you know what I mean? A dollop of avocado, a dollop of salsa, and that takes it into a whole other flavor profile.
I think too, like the interesting thing is just on the topic of making this like kid friendly. I think that cooking this way makes it a lot easier for you to offer your children different things, because then, I mean, I hear so much from moms where like they stress out because, you know, they're like, I just spent the entire meal making like X and now they won't eat it. And so it's just like, whereas the way that you cook, and it's very obviously similar to mine, like we're obviously cut from the same meal prepping cloth, is that we treat our fridges almost like a salad bar, so that 100%. You have a variety of different foods. So then that way, like, you know, you have the ability to sit, like, you're not always slaving over meals. Like, you know, you can sit down and cook like an amazing dinner for yourself. But like, if you don't have a lot of time at lunch, you can literally open up the fridge and say, okay, guys, we have A, B, and C. What do you feel like today?
Right. Sorry,
I think too, like it's nice because like you can also it's really easy to do chicken fingers with like gluten-free breadcrumbs, or like, you know, like a nice nutty, like grinding up some nuts and then having like the nuts be like the bait. Like you don't have to deep fry or buy like the really crappy, like
get the air fryer. You can air fry chicken tenders in there like nobody's business. Like it's honestly
on an air fryer.
I think I should. Yeah, I'm a little bit on my air fryer kick. Sorry. But no, it's true. And then honestly, like thinking about these things, if you decided to, I should have put some beets in there just to give it some color. You know, if you have these things laid out here, which mom on here would not be okay if their kid picked 2 or 3 things? I've got cucumbers. We can have carrots. You can, whatever it is that they like. You know, from Maddie's age, almost, you could have your kids participate in really what it is that they're having for dinner in this type of way. And then you can make your own, your husband can make their own, like whoever is in your house with you has options, you know what I mean? And then you can, it's not making 3 different meals for 3 different people. And when you sit down at that table, your kids are still seeing that they're eating the same thing you did. They participated in putting those things in the bowl. They feel accomplished. They're more likely to try something new, especially like, you know, those pickle things, maybe not so great for kids, but you can do the roasted cabbage. Kids love color, right? So, you know, to have them help along and make those choices. And then it kind of takes the onus off of you a little bit. But you've got all of these options there for them. So they're going to be okay. They've got some greens, they've got a vegetable, they've got a fat. You know, for most of my bowls, like I said, I'll usually add like avocado. All of these things have been sauteed or roasted in avocado oil. And then you can add whatever it is that you need to add there with the nuts and the seeds and that sort of thing.
And I think for me, it's really helpful. Like the reason why I love cooking like that is because typically what I've always done is every week we will have 1 or 2 protein options available in the fridge. So we'll usually have some kind of chicken, I will have some kind of red meat, and I will do some kind of fish. So it's like salmon or trout or something, to have that variety, to be able to. But I also think too, like it's important for you, for your body, to get all of the different nutrients that you can from different, like, you know, different sources. And the same thing with vegetables. Like I will always, there are a couple of things that I have staples of. So we always have roasted broccoli in the fridge. I love roasted cauliflower, or cauliflower rice. So we will always have that. But then there are weeks where I'm like, okay, this week we're going to buy carrots, or, you know, this week we're going to buy sweet potatoes, or this week we are going to buy beets. And then, so there's like a constant rotation of different foods and different flavors coming into your house, which then sort of challenges you and switches things up to keep it interesting.
Right. And right now, I mean, like you might go to the store, and I normally like try to get a few different types of sweet potatoes, and I mean, they're not always available right now, right? So sometimes you're stuck with like, well, I wouldn't normally buy this, but I'm going to buy it. I'm going to try it out. You can switch out your kale to Swiss chard. You can, you know, switch out the bok choy for snap peas. Like there's so many options out there, and you'll just cook them exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna just stick them all in a roaster in the oven and done, and not stress about it. And just know that, like you said, as long as that kind of rotation and that variety is happening, you don't have to make 3 different types of protein. That's not realistic. You know what I mean? You can make chicken and fish this week, and then next week maybe you make beef and whatever, a different type of fish, or you know, a ground turkey and something like it does. It's just
shrimp or whatever.
Or shrimp, whatever it is. But having a couple of different options is wonderful, and then being able to rotate through those vegetables that you've made one time and done. And then just kind of like I said, when you're choosing condiments, if you know, once you kind of get the basics of it, and you want to like venture out and start making your own sauces, honestly, it's super simple. Anything that you like to eat, any of those flavors can combine really simply to make easy sauces. And you know, there are 1,000,001 recipes out there. But before you get to that point, before you add that into your kind of repertoire, once you're happy with these things, just look for those low sugar, few ingredient condiments, and then you can have like 1,000,001 meals just based on adding a tablespoon or 2 of, you know, whatever it is. Also, what I'll also do is sometimes if I get something that's like a sauce, I will use like 1 tablespoon and then like top it up if I want more. Like I want it to be saucier, I will top it up with like my coconut aminos or a little bit of low sodium vegetable broth, so it goes further without adding like additional calories and additional fat or that sort of thing.
Amazing. Okay, so just in the interest of time, really quickly, and then we're gonna, we'll give away. So guys, what we're gonna do is, so Lonie is gonna give me the recipe for that amazing sauce that she uses everything to cook with. So if you want that, DM me and I will give it to you. So that's how we're gonna be able to give that away to you guys. So the other thing that I wanna just ask quickly is, with everything going on, in the interest of time, we did a poll earlier on in the week, and a lot of moms said that one of the things, well, let's just do all of them, but a lot of moms said that they're really struggling with lunches and dinners right now. So let's say you literally have 5, and then I'll throw mine in too. So let's say you literally have 5 minutes to get a meal ready for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What are you making? Maybe not 5 minutes. Let's just say 10.
Okay, so probably this morning, that I'll tell you what I made for my mom before she left the house to go on her walk. I scrambled 2 eggs, organic eggs. I did the greens with olive oil and lemon. That's what I was also going to say. Always have squeeze lemon. Squeeze lemon on your food. It makes everything taste better.
Amazing.
Squeeze of lemon, olive oil, salt, pepper on those greens. I did the spaghetti squash and scrambled eggs, mushrooms. What else did I do for her? And that was it. It was like 5 minutes. The only thing that took any time to make was the egg. It took 5 minutes. And I didn't even scramble them. I don't even beat them in the thing. I'd like break them in the pan and then scramble it in the pan. Like, why make more?
Okay, for breakfast, I think usually if I'm short on time, what I usually do is, I love a good smoothie.
Oh yeah, I had a smoothie today. She had that. I had a smoothie.
So for a smoothie, I will do a protein, so protein powder. I love chocolate. So I'll usually do a protein powder with, you know, like a 1/4 cup of fruit. So usually it's blueberries. I love blueberries because they have great antioxidants. I also throw a ton of frozen veggies in my smoothie. So I'll do things like cauliflower, frozen zucchini, like good sources of fiber, and then, you know, maybe some spinach or something like that, with some nut butter, or I'll do like for a source of fat, like it'll either be like a nut butter or half an avocado, and then a little bit of stevia for some sweetness, because I love mine
so
a little bit.
I had all of that in my smoothie today. I had spinach, protein, almond butter, almond milk, What was my fat that I put in there? Oh, I put some coconut. I did half coconut milk, half almond milk. But yeah.
I always do water because I suck at getting water in. So I try to just get it in. I'm not that. Okay, so let's do lunch quickly. What would you make for lunch?
Probably the exact same thing. One of these bowls. Yeah, probably one of these bowls. I'm just like a bowl. First of all, if you put it in a bowl, I'm gonna eat it. I don't know why, but I feel like everything tastes better in a bowl. And if you can eat it,
I know.
If you can eat it with a spoon, it's even better. I don't know. But yeah, I've been eating a lot of this is actually, so I'm not like just saying, oh, these are the things that this is what I have been eating, especially right now. It takes 5 minutes to make them because everything's already made. And like I said, I can switch it up and I don't have to keep recooking. I'm not remaking anything. But yeah, I've been really big on the bowls.
Okay, well, so since you took the bowls, because I would also probably have a bowl. The other thing, what did I have today? Today I had a gluten-free. We found these like amazing gluten-free wraps that I love so much. So I had a gluten-free wrap with roasted chicken. I did some asparagus because I actually I love grilled asparagus, like chopped up. I try to throw as many vegetables as possible in things. I did sliced tomatoes. I did a little bit of hummus, a little bit of avocado, and then sprouts.
Yeah, see, I love that kind of thing too. I love a bowl that's like, I'll put some olives, some hummus, some Mary's crackers. Those are my go-to. Some avocado, some salt, and sprinkle some pomegranates on it, like just to give it a little bit of a zing. But those kind of things, those kind of bowls and then like a hard-boiled egg or soft-boiled egg. And then that would be another one of my go-tos. A 9-minute egg. I don't know if anybody knows how to make their eggs in 9 minutes, but those eggs they're foolproof. They are the best eggs ever.
Okay, so
you know
dinner.
What I'm talking about? Quickly,
I do.
I'll tell you. Okay, cold water, eggs, bring it to a boil, take it off the heat, cover for 9 minutes. Perfect egg.
Done.
Yeah.
And then I put mine in an ice bath after, so they're easy
in an ice bath. Yeah, and then into an ice bath. But yeah, that with like those little things, like little nibbly things, I love that for a lunch option.
I remember when we went to Europe, I used to love so many Europeans lunch like that, where it's like they'll just have like a little bit of they'll do a little bit of olives, and then they'll have like some salami or some eggs, and then some crackers or some some like cut up like bread, and then like some cheese or whatever. Like
I'm super like non-traditional in terms of what you eat when. Like if you have leftover salmon and you want to have that for breakfast, like salmon and vegetables. And like, even the black rice or whatever, or like an egg fried rice, those things are great for breakfast. You do not have to eat certain things at a specific time in the day. So.
No, amazing. Okay. What would you do for dinner?
The same. I would probably do, we like chicken wings. We do a lot of chicken wings here. I don't know if that's on your diet plan or not, but
I love wings.
Yeah, so chicken wings are big. So we would do chicken wings, sweet potatoes. I usually have like cucumbers. I don't know if you can see them. Cucumbers in vinegar, and that sort of thing, and like a slaw, like anything that's kind of like, comforty, especially right now. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there was no like, beef Wellington and whatever happening over here. Like I cook very, very simply and just with a lot of different elements. For me personally, I like to have a lot of different, I'm one of those people, like you go to the restaurant and I want to order like everything on the menu, and I'm hoping that everybody orders something different so that I can taste from everybody's plate. I like to cook like that for myself, and I find that it helps me at the end, even if it's like these bowls keep me very satiated because I've gotten everything. Like I've got a little bit of cold, some hot, some crunchy, something nutty, I've got that tang from those vinegary things. So I feel like I've kind of covered all of my bases, and it makes me feel like I've really kind of accomplished all that I want out of that meal without feeling stuffed, So I'm not feeling like I've overburdened my digestive system to get whatever it is that I felt like I needed from that meal.
It's so funny that you say that too, but like, you know, the beef Wellingtons and not spending a lot of time on cooking, because so Marcus and I we have a standing date night every Sunday. And right now we're doing pizza. So we make pizza together, and we were joking last night that but the kids are in bed when we do it. So it's like, we take so much time curating that pizza and making it delicious because it's just the two of us. And like, we have the time, like we never ever spend, like, we don't like to cook otherwise, but then if it's the two of us, that's part, I think the reason why we do that is because we actually enjoy cooking together. Like that's part of the whole, that's like our romantic like thing, you know, on Sunday nights is like cooking together and coming up with like different flavor profiles for the pizza and stuff like that. When it's just me and the kids, we're like, eat.
Yeah. Yeah. When you know, I'm like a short order cook here for the most part with, you know, everybody kind of wants something different, but this is how I do it. Like if somebody's not eating this or can't eat that or whatever. But in terms of like for your people, for the people who are on this and listening to this and like how it is that they kind of wrap their head around this mentally, it seems daunting, but honestly, once you get into a flow, you're like, what the F was I thinking not doing this before? Because it simplifies your life. You don't realize how much time you spend, you know, kind of burdened by what is going to get on the plate that night. When all of these things are done, you give it's literally not like I just said, not time consuming, not rocket science. You do not have to, you know, be a Michelin star chef to get the shit done. But once you do it and you get into that rhythm, you're like, you free up yourself, you free up your time, you free up that feeling of like, you know, being burdened with like, I don't know, somebody else's idea of what the perfect meal looks like. And I like to say this a lot. Food really does not have any rules when it comes to like what is on your plate, other than make sure you have a great source of protein, make sure you have a really good source of fat, some, you know, I like carbs that come from the earth. So like, you know, sweet potato or whatever. And then like low sugar ingredients that you recognize. Like those are like super basic, like bullet points that you have to remember. And then everything else is out the fucking door. But you know what I mean? Like it's really like, don't like sunflower seeds, don't put sunflower seeds. Love sunflower seeds, put them on. You know what I mean? Like who cares? There's nobody who's going to grade you on what that bowl looks like. And it does not have to be pretty. Like I said, these are lovely. And I've had time to like, you know, decide where I want to put the pickles and decide where I want to put that because I've got nothing else to do right now. But normally I would literally just toss all of this thing into a big silver bowl, mix it all together, and, you know,
and just like
devour it on my couch.
Like it's then nice because then on the nights where if you're feeling super exhausted and you don't have a lot of time, you're less likely to then turn to let's order pizza, let's Uber Eats, let's just like whatever, because all of this is in your fridge. And then on the other nights where you do have a little bit more energy and you do want to cook, then it's like, okay, cool, I can do that. Like it really does kind of give you that flexibility to, you know, kind of go with your own flow, as opposed to thinking like you're a slave to the kitchen every single night.
Right. And also, like, you know, in these times, thinking about like, you know, you don't want to go to the grocery store more than you really have to. You're trying to stay home more. I have never had such little food waste in my house. Like we use up every single one of these things. Like, and it's just, you know, it's just a constant cycling through of those vegetables. And it honestly, like, it's actually made me feel a lot better because I'm usually on the go and I'm cooking for other people. So I'm a nibbler. Like I, you know, taste things as I go. And sometimes I'm not really hungry myself in terms of sitting down and making this for me. But to have the time to do it, I'm like, oh, now I know why people hire me. I'm like, I'm pretty good at this stuff.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so I think just quickly, just to sort of wrap up. So basic takeaways are, so when it comes to kids, don't put your own food story on your children. Continue to introduce stuff. If they don't like it, don't worry. It's going to come.
Yeah, move on
Yourself,
and move back.
you yourself were reformed, like, you know what I mean? You never used
I was
to
an
eat
extremely picky eater. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm not saying this for, what I ate 3 things growing up. I did not, like, my foods could not touch. I did not like any cooked vegetables. I refused to eat fish. Like, I'm not kidding you. I would go to my best friend's house and bring my own box of craft dinner to her house for her parents to make. And that is literally how I was for the first probably like 8 years of my life that I was eating food. I did not try anything new or anything. But that was when we lived as a family unit and we ate the same way. When my parents split up and my mom kind of came into her own thing with her own health and wellness, it was like a whole different ball game. So even though I was a picky eater, like, these were the things I was now kind of introduced to, because my dad was very meat, potatoes. I don't even think we ate vegetables, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think it was a thing in my house. But then with my mom, it was a thing. So I was constantly introduced to them. And honestly, I don't even remember a time after that I was not like basically willing to try just about anything. But my mother never like pushed her things. I was like, this is what we have here. Want to eat it? Great. Don't want to eat it? Great. But like, every day there was vegetables available to me, and that sort of thing. So,
well, and I think
don't stress it.
I think that that's important too, because then as parents, like, if our kids don't want to eat something, then we feel the need to cater to their taste.
I was not catered to. So it was like, this is what we have.
I don't want to say that they then win, but like, for example, like with Maddie, like I remember after Easter, God love my parents, they gave her they brought over chocolate. We didn't have chocolate in the house. Like we weren't going to do that. But they brought over like chocolate Easter eggs for her. And then Marcus gave her one after dinner one night as a treat. And then for like the following night, like immediately she wanted chocolate, and she literally like pushed her plate away and said garbage, because she knew that like once she was done, then she would get the chocolate egg. And so we were like, oh no, like this is how you have to eat. So I think that that's the thing too, is not giving in and catering to them, because then
and also you were asking like things that I also have on hand all the time. I always have chocolate in my fridge. I right now have dark chocolate and sea salt, and I probably have a piece of chocolate every day at some point in the day. And because I have that, I never feel like, for me, nothing is off the table in terms of what is out there for food. Nothing is off the table for me. I've never said I will not or cannot eat X, Y, or Z. I would never tell that to my clients unless it makes you not feel well. It's the only reason that it would be like off of the menu kind of thing. But in doing so, I allow myself the option I also say I'm only going to have the best of. So I have not had a McDonald's fry in 1,000 years. However, we have a wonderful restaurant. They make the best French fries. So if I'm at the restaurant, I'm having French fries because it's the best French fries. You know what I mean? I'm not going to deprive myself of that. But
they're outstanding French fries. For those of you who live in Toronto, you have to go to the Good Sun. They make the most. Yes. I mean, the food is bar.
Come visit us when we reopen. But like, it's the opposite of how I eat on a normal basis. But I would never deprive myself of it. And this is a restaurant that is like literally 5 minutes from my house. We own it. I could go in there every day, all day long, and eat French fries if I wanted to. But because I know that they're there and they're never off limits, I never feel the urge to really go. Like, so if my friends say, oh, do you want to go to the Good Sun for dinner? I'm like, sure, let's go. And then, I will probably have French fries when I get there. But I'm not going there every day because I know they're never going away. They're always going to be there. The chocolate is always going to be in my fridge. So there will be days where I have no chocolate. There might be days where I eat chocolate twice in a day. There might be a day where I eat chocolate 3 times in a day. But there might be a week where I don't ever eat chocolate just because I just don't feel, I'm not burdened by it because I haven't scratched it out as a never have anymore. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things with my clients is that they're always, when I give them food, they're like, I can have this. I can have this. I'm allowed to have this. And I'm like, yeah, you can have pretty much anything. You just have to figure out the balance. Also the why in you know, in the disordered part of your eating? Why do you feel like you can't have this? Why do you feel like you deserve, you know, the extra large sundae with the what? Like where does that stuff come from? And that's like a whole other topic of conversation. But basically, you know, basically just learning like the balance in what is on your plate and really honoring yourself with that food. Like looking at this and saying, you know, I'm enjoying this and it makes me feel good. Finding out what your baseline is when you eat like this for an extended period of time and you then go off on a, you know, on a little bender. You will physically feel it. The next day you will wake up and you'll be like, oh shit, why do I feel like this? You feel like this because of what you ate and because you maybe have not given yourself, you know, that time to really get into it. Once you do, honestly, like that's the best thing. The best thing is when a client says, oh my God, Lonie, I feel so good. I feel so good. Totally. It's not about like I've lost weight. It's not about anything else. It's really like to hear somebody say, I forgot what feeling good feels like. I woke up, I had no headache. My joints feel better. I have more energy. I slept better. Like all of those things. And it can literally come from food, but you have to give yourself the time to like, you know, really put it into practice, it into practice.
And I think that that's the other thing too. So like just going along with the meal prepping. So make sure that you have healthy proteins on hand, healthy fats, good complex carbohydrates, and like a lot of like good healthy vegetables for that good gut fiber, I think is essential. And then like really cutting yourself some slack. So like if there is a week where, you know, your meal prepping wasn't on point or you weren't eating really great, then it doesn't mean that it's the be all. It's the same thing with the picky eaters. Like that doesn't mean the end of the road. Like I always say to my clients, like every new meal, every new minute of every day is an opportunity for you to get back on track. So it's like, just because you had one really bad meal does not mean that the rest of the weekend or the rest of the week or whatever is a complete write-off. Enjoy going off track, enjoy the moment, relish in it, and then the next meal just get back on track. Because I think that ultimately to think that you're going to be eating clean for the rest of your life is just a complete, like, it's just an utter lie. Like it's not. You and I both eat really healthy all of the time. You also go to the Good Set and you have French fries. I also have pizza on Sunday nights. Like,
can I just touch on that though, Linz? And I think that's something that's really important, and it's something that I always try and stress with people is that if you do this 80% of the time, you stick to what it is that you know is good. All of the things you just said, the fiber, the proteins, all of those things, 80% of the time, and then that 20% of the time is spent in creating something more than just the food. Like you said, it's your date night with Marcus. So that pizza is more about your date night with Marcus. My going to the Good Sun is more about like meeting up with my friends and enjoying that moment than it is about the food. Like taking that away and making it about those moments in time and a memory, and like creating that sort of memory instead of just focusing on like, I want to go and have French fries. I'm like, I want to go and hang out with my friends. You're having date night. That food is just kind of like on the peripheral. It's the kind of gravy to the actual event that's taking place. And then I feel like people, once you start to do that 20% or that, you know, those things that are kind of most people have put on their no list, it becomes less about that thing and more about the special times that you create in those moments, as opposed to like sitting on the couch and eating a bag of Oreos by yourself. Like, why bother to do that? Why bother to do that when you can have date night with your husband and make a pizza? Why eat pizza alone when you can call your girlfriend over and the two of you can, you know, make some pizza and have a glass of wine and discuss what's happening. Well, when you're allowed to do that. Discuss what's happening in your lives, and you know it shifts the way that you think of food. You know what I mean? So now that has become,
I think it essentially, and I say this all the time, like we as a culture, and this is I think the reason why we as a culture rely on food for so many things outside of nourishment. We
Yes.
rely on food for comfort. We rely on food to make us feel better when we're upset, which then gives food so much power over you.
Yeah.
And so by having chocolate in the house all the time, and by allowing yourself to indulge in it for the simple pleasure of indulging in chocolate, not because you had a bad day, not because you're stressed out, not because you just yelled at your kid and you feel like a bag of shit, like because like by simply indulging in it, you then remove the power of food. Like, I mean, I have girlfriends that come over all the time. I have an entire shelf in my fridge full of chocolate. Like like Marcus has like he loves chips. Like we have chips like in a cupboard, and like I have girlfriends all the time that are like, how do you keep it in our house? I'm like, I can open up my fridge. I don't even see the chocolate. Like I don't even,
because it's always there. It's always there.
And it's not something, I think, because I've done the real work to honor how I feel and to not rely on food for, that's not my vice anymore. I think it now just becomes this joy. Like it literally is like, it's amazing. And it's exactly like you said, the pizza night is not about the pizza. We were just discussing this morning, making tacos and also, we want to try making sushi, but I think that that's what it actually is. It's about the two of us coming together in a partnership to make something and then enjoy that thing together. It is literally about, it's almost really about the creation of the food so much more than it is actually about eating the food.
Yeah. That emotion is then about the time that you guys are spending together and not about the pizza. So like removing the emotional connection to the food and actually enjoying the moment. And same when you are eating healthy, recognizing that you are in that moment, like yourself, and nourishing your body and doing all of those things like that. It's a mind shift, and it doesn't happen overnight. But once you get it, it's like a lifelong thing. Once you get it, it never goes away. Like it never. No, and it might take some time and some coaching and all of those things to get there. But when you get there, you're like mind blown. Like it. Like, you know what I mean? Because you have this whole different relationship with yourself, with your children, with food, with like your time management. So many things can change from it for the better. It's like, I mean, I don't even think about it anymore. So like all of this, don't think about it. You know what I mean? So all of this, people are probably like, oh my God, she just did this and she did that. But I don't even think about it. Like, it's like, I can put these things together now in any kind of way. And obviously when I'm cooking for somebody else, I'm much more conscious of like how it looks and, what it is that I'm doing and creating a menu for them because they're paying me not to have the same thing, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner or whatever. But for myself and going through my everyday life, I can physically feel it. When I am off my game here, I am off my game on everything. And once I wrap myself around it, I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Now, like, okay. We've all felt it in the last couple of weeks where we have gone to like a dark place. I had to pull myself out of there myself. Like, I've been in the house quite a bit, and because my mom is staying with me, we try to limit our time outside, like around people, as much as we can. And I've gone through it a couple times, but you know what I mean. But I said to myself the other day, like I need to like pretend like this isn't happening and just do what I can right now to like honor myself and my body and, work out more and eat better and do all those things. And I feel 100% better.
It completely changes the game. Like it really, and I think that that's my thing. Like that is like my one wish for women. I always say this, like, I feel like women stress so much about food. And if we were able to remove the amount of stress that women, like if we were able to free up that space in women's heads, can you imagine how unstoppable we would be? Like just like it blows my mind, like the amount of time and energy that we waste like on food and stressing about like, should we eat this and shouldn't we eat this, or making ourselves feel bad about it. Like, I'm like, can you imagine the incredibly unstoppable, present, powerful, like magnetic woman that you would be if you were able to just let that go? Like just let it go. Like it would be like the world would probably just blow right the F up. Like it would just be outstanding, which is what I think like is the goal for so many of us, like me, like you, who do this like on the regular, is like reminding women there is like no bad food.
No.
Like there's only your relationship with food that needs to change, because every food, whether it be chocolate or sugar, whatever, on some level, it is nourishing you. It is delicious. You just need to figure out how to get there to make yourself feel better.
And practice makes perfect. Like nobody, like this, everything that we do is learned behavior. Every moment of every day, if you do something repetitively, it's because you learned it. So if this is not, you know, second nature to you, you just have to learn it. You just have to put it into practice. Like, it's not like you're going to wake up one day and all of a sudden you are going to be like the whatever Instagrammable, you know, meal prepper of the, and, you know, be on whatever talk shows, and who cares about all that? That's not the point. The point of the matter is, if you just do this every day, at some point you won't be doing it. It just gets done. Like it's not a chore. It's like second nature. And it's because it became a learned behavior. And I'm telling you, like, I always make fun of my sister because she says everything is life-changing. It'll be life-changing. Like everything is life-changing. This is actually life-changing. Like it really will, but you have to be kind to yourself. You have to be kind to yourself on the day that you put a bunch of shit in a bowl and you go to eat it and you're like, this is not good. Don't think that doesn't happen to me. That will happen to me as well. I mean, I am my own taste tester. I might make something and be like, okay, scratch this one off the list, never making that again. But you too will go through that, and you have to give yourself permission for that, and then just kind of move past it and on to the next thing, on to the next day. And like you were saying, if you fall off, you've fallen off that meal. You know what I mean? You fell off that one little time in this 24-hour period. You have not scrapped the whole week, the whole month, all of the effort you've put into it. You know what? You fucked up on one meal. Oh well.
And I think that's the thing too, is like just recognizing that this is a skill, and just like every other skill, like you didn't just get into a car and know how to drive. Like you didn't just like go to work on your very first day and like nail it. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is something I don't understand why people, maybe it's because around food, people just have this like weird idea that this is supposed to be something that just like comes to them. Like I never grew up in a household where my mom meal prepped. Like we didn't eat this way when I was younger. Like in fact, I'm having to, and there are so many of us who are, like, I'm having to work against what I was brought up with. I'm having to create a new lineage of like, you know what I mean? Because like, this wasn't what I was exposed to when I was younger. And so I think it's exactly what you said. It's being kind to yourself to know, like, this is something new that I'm, you know what I mean? This is a new habit that I'm developing. This is a new thing that I'm learning.
When I said at the beginning, you know, I apologize monthly to my grown child for things I did. There was a time where the girl ate nothing but crappy food. Like, not because I didn't have any money to feed her. You know what I mean? Like I was a young single mom. So there was a time where she ate like shit. But I could sit there and be like, oh, well, but as soon as I was able to, and as soon as I had the means to, you know, put more vegetables, they were there. And as soon as I had the time to spend more time to learn these things, I did. So like it is a process. And once that process is there and locked in, like it literally becomes second nature. It's like parenting. Yeah. You're basically parenting yourself.
It's like Oprah says, when you know better, you do better.
Exactly.
So on that note, I hope that everybody that's watching now knows better. No, I'm kidding. Has at least, you know, gotten some amazing tips and tricks from Lonie. Like I said before, for her delicious sauce, you can DM me and I will give it to you. I've used it before. It is incredible. It's life-changing. So feel free to just shoot me a quick message and I'll make sure that you get it. Otherwise, I just want to thank you so much. I know that this actually went over quite some time, but with me,
Well,
we would
that's
always
because we always go over when it's you and I
we
talk.
always go over time. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on, Lonie. Again, so brilliant. So many, I mean, not just from a food perspective, but like one of the messages was, and I think it was so sweet, like this is real food psychology here. Like that's like,
Yeah.
and it's true. Like that. We're not just getting into food, we're getting into all of it. So I just wanted to sort of, again, thank you for coming on and just sharing your wisdom and your experience with us, because it is priceless.
Thank you. Well, thank you for giving me a reason to like take my hair out of braids and put on some real clothes and some mascara. It was great. I appreciate that. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions like that your group has if they have any questions. And the only one I can't do is I can't introduce you to Will Smith, but trust me, I get DMs every day. Can you just give this to Will for me? I'm like, no. No, I can't.
Oh my God. All right. Well, anyway, sweetie. Okay. Well, I'll be sure to send over, guys, if you have any questions, you can send them to me. I can pass them on to Lonie. We'll be sure to get them answered for you. Otherwise, if you want the recipe, feel free to shoot me a DM. We can get that set up for you. But otherwise, thanks so much, sweetie. And yeah, it's been a slice as always.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.